ātmā'jñānādaho prītirviṣayabhramagocare śukterajñānato lobho yathā rajatavibhrame. And the third verse, viśvaṃ sphurati yatredaṃ taraṅgā iva sāgare ऽहमस्मिति vijñāya dīna iva dhāvasi. Verse 2. ātmā'jñānādaho prīti. Alas, just as due to ignorance a seashell is sought, mistaking it for silver, even so, due to the ignorance of the self, there is attachment to the illusory world of the senses. All these verses are like bullet shoots to the disciple. In the Kali Yuga, even if out of this, don't know how many verses are there in this chapter, there are many, at least 10, 11, 12, more than that. Okay, 14 verses are there, 14 shots at the disciple in this Kali Yuga. If 2 such shots are aimed at the disciple, mostly the disciple will leave and never come back to the Acharya. Based on his experience, he can tell this. But Janaka bears all these 14 shots and then replies. Okay. So he says, like the seashell, the silvery line in the seashell is mistaken for silver due to the ignorance of the self. Still, how you can be attached to the illusory world of the senses? Illusory world. Running towards the illusory world of the senses is compared to running towards acquiring the silver. Mistaking the silvery lines in the seashell as silver. A short commentary. Since we have dealt this earlier already, so not getting into great detail, Acharya's commentary, amplifying the previous verse, Ashtavakra here explains that only in the ignorance of the self can the deluded ego get fascinated by the enchanting world of illusory sense objects. If Janaka is a man of realization, there should not have been in him any fascination for the world of sense objects. He claims that he is a man of realization, yet as a king he pursues wealth. Is not worldly activities and service of the society contradictory to the state of self-realization? Next, to taunt Janaka further, Ashtavakra is pointing out that the king's attachment to the throne and its power are all eloquent symptoms of his spiritual ignorance. Moving to the next verse, viśvaṃ sphurati yatredaṃ taraṅgā iva sāgare. We know by now, we have extensively dealt with this subject. The translation goes like this: having realized I am that from which the universe arises, like waves from the sea, why do you run about like a wretched creature? Is it not too much for a disciple to bear? If he or I were to tell such things, maybe won't be surprised if I get a slap in return. He's asking, why do you run about like a wretched creature? Commentary: an individual ego, in its own sense of imperfection, generally desires for the acquisition, possession, and enjoyment of other objects that it perceives in a world of multiplicity that lies spread out in all directions around it. But having realized that you are essentially nothing but the pure source of all consciousness, the self in you, the infinite self from which the universe rise, play about, and die away like waves in the ocean. Udhyanti gnananti khelanti pravishanti. We dealt with this in the last chapter. Correct? So, the infinite self from which the universes arise, play about, and die away like waves in the ocean. Why do you sweat and toil, work and exert, plan and execute programs for the service of the world? Like any other wretched creatures drowned in their ignorance, if Janaka also is driven to feel committed to the activities of the world of plurality, is there then any true wisdom in him? Remember, Ashtavakra is deliberately testing his disciple to get out of the student a confirmation of his deepest realization. That was a different yoga. Glorious Guru Shishya Parampara, where to get a true confession from his disciple who has realized the self or who is sincerely running towards the goal of realization of the self, the master could go to any extent in teasing and tormenting his disciple, even to the extent of addressing him as a wretched creature. The bondage, relationless relationship the love and compassion of the master on one hand, and the reverence of the disciple to his master was complete, wholesome in all respects. So, as an unwritten rule, even while Ashtavakra is teasing his disciple, still, out of total reverence for his master, King Janaka is able to understand that all this my master is doing not to really tease me as it would look apparently, but he knows my state. He is putting up all these cross questions and all these complaints on me, and even while he is apparently teasing me and apparently being so rash about me, in essence I know that the master knows where I am, and he also knows what is going to be my answer, and he knows for sure my reverence for him. He knows for sure that I am not going to take all these accusations negatively. He knows that I am always under his feet, and he knows my answer, and my answer to all his accusers, he is reserving for the disciples for yugas to come, as to how they have to revere or they have to respect their master, and also how to understand even the apparent scolding of their master with clarity as to why my master is scolding me and what is it that he is expecting from me. It looks too good to believe that such Guru Shishya Paramparas existed. Where 24/7 the disciple stayed at his Guru's hermitage, and he would welcome his master even if the master says, I am going to kill you today, you worthless fellow. He knows master's intention, and he knows that every single word uttered by my master is to lift me and for me to reach his state, that state, so that the discipledom, if he may say, merges in the Gurudom, and both are one, unified consciousness. Hari Om Tat Sat.